Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob.
It sounds like to me that our conversation is almost right on spot right now. So
Yeah, it does.
God, this is a good thing we test this shit out, right?
Yeah.
just to get used
Fucking
to it.
A.
Yeah, fucking A back at you. Yeah,
Right.
apparently this is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right. Welcome, everyone, to another fun-filled episode of Sober, Not Mature. And actually, Mike is here in the land of cheese with me.
I am in the land of cheese.
And we were actually sitting in the same room together, but started to get some feedback. So we both been isolated to different bedrooms. But yeah, we're in the same building this time, which is kind of fun.
It is.
So yeah, and my saga continued with headsets. I think didn't we count 7 when I was going through there? This is
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is headphone 7 or headset 7 or 8, one of the two. But yeah, I just tested out my mute button before we started, so it appears that it works. So man, never thought that this would take so much work sometimes. And when we're trying to, literally be unprofessional, and then we're trying to be professional all in one. It's a weird thing, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's kind of recap the week. First of all, followers. We have 235 followers now on Instagram, which is awesome. Yeah, thank you for everyone who is following us and listening. And if obviously you are following and listening, tell somebody else. Pass this thing along. We're trying to grow the number of followers, our listener base. But the other cool thing is we have our website set up now. We actually got a specific ID. It's SoberNotMature.com. So visit the website. That has links to everything. All of our episodes are on there. I think, Mike, as you said, one-stop shopping, right?
Absolutely. Yep. We're actually almost looks like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, looks can be deceiving, right?
Of course. We're good at that. Yes. We'll make you think we know what we're doing.
That's part of the game, right? We have plenty of years of practice with that. So what's the other thing that we set up? I'll let you do that because you did the setup on that one.
Oh yeah, we are now on Facebook. We have an official Facebook page. It's again Facebook Sober Not Mature. Type it into the search and you'll find us.
Yeah, so we're all over the place. We're getting trying to get things set up, and like I said, we feel like I'm sorry, take that back. We look, it looks like we know what we're doing, but at least we've got a presence, which is part of our motivation. And I guess to step back on that a little bit, I guess let's just recap what the motivation was in this. And Mike and I were talking about it. He got up here on Tuesday. We'll talk about the why behind that in a minute, but the whole point of doing this is we were doing it for fun. Obviously, we're doing it for trying to get I don't know, it's just helping, talking about stuff. Maybe somebody listens, but we're also doing this for us, and we've spent and it's occupied a certain amount of time for both of us over the last 30 days that we've been doing it.
Right.
And it's time spent now more on our recovery, so it jumps and puts both of us back in the middle of what we're always trying to do, so there's all the different things that we do on a daily basis, and there's all the different things that we were taught, but this is just one more level. So it's been filling, I don't know, for me, I think it's been filling maybe even a void, that I've had. So it's like I said, it's fun, but I think it's been great, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And void, I think, is the perfect word. I coming up on 12 years in this thing, I can certainly pull back and not do as much as I think I should be doing, and kind of be comfortable with that. Recovery certainly doesn't take up as much of my life as it did even 5 years ago. which is okay. It's still a huge part of my life, and I'm still staying sober and all that. But like most of us, we need a little kick in the rump occasionally to do a little more because we can become complacent very easily, and
Yeah,
that's a
I mean,
dangerous thing.
oh, exactly. Because the less that we're, at least for me, the less I'm thinking about recovery, the more comfortable I get, and who
Hmm.
knows? I don't feel like this is going to happen today, but sooner or later, it's like, I got this thing, and
Mm.
I'm okay without doing this. And that was your reaction. Yeah, that was my reaction too. But it's easy for us to feel that way, that because you get
Right.
this much, and I'm living my life, I'm paying my bills, I got a job, I'm being good to people, all these different things.
Hmm. Right.
And then who knows? I mean, we do know what happens next. That a lot of people
Mm.
start thinking, that first drink seems a little bit. Maybe I'm okay. I can have one. And
Sure.
later then we're dead. So and I always go to the extreme because I think that that's where I would end up. But
Hmm.
hopefully, and maybe not everyone is the same as me. But how do you know? You don't know that you are or you aren't. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And you say go to the extreme. I mean, one of the early tools just about everybody in recovery is taught is play that tape through. Okay, I do
Right.
this. I take that first drink. I smoke a joint, it's no big deal. Well, yeah, it's no big deal, but then it's going to progress like it always does. We have to play that tape through. And I think at this point, I know for me, yes, I can play that tape through very quickly. Yeah, I could take that drink and then I'm shooting heroin in a back alley somewhere. You know, I remember several years ago I posted I had been out, I'd been working, I drive truck, and I'm home every night now. I'm local, but I was on the road for a long time, and I had come home from being out for a week and a half or so, and made myself some food and uh, threw the dish in the sink. And I was like, yeah, I'll get to that later. And I was all, you know what? No, I'm washing that dish. And I posted on Facebook right after that. I was all, yeah, I needed to wash that dish. Otherwise, I'll be shooting heroin. And, and that's it. That's it. Jump floors. Take the action. Do what you need to do because you start slacking on those little tiny things. And then you start slacking on bigger things. And before you know it, you're beating the little old ladies over the head for their change purse.
Right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I know you remember this, but we talked about this a lot. In early recovery, it actually pissed me off. Like, so for instance, walking out of a public restroom, wrap up that paper towel, and you go to throw it, and it bounces off the wall and hits the floor. I
Mm-hmm.
never used to think about that, but when we were so conditioned to do that next right thing right off the bat, that I'd
Right.
stop and I'm like, I got to go pick that up, and then I'd sit there and in my head I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to pick that up, but I pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, there was one time we were going to a meeting, and we stopped at that Circle K on the way to Who Do You Know, I think. And
Right.
there was a couple of things that I bought, and it was at the time when I was using my debit card for everything, so I had the receipt. And I got home
Mm-hmm.
that day, and I realized they didn't charge me for my coffee, which was 99 cents. And,
Mm-hmm.
and the next day, I was going to a family get together, and I had to stop by and I picked up some soda at the same store. And I went back there on purpose. And I told the person, I'm like, I was here last night, this and that. He didn't charge me for the coffee. I said, here's the extra dollar. They're like, nah, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, 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 take the dollar. And they're like, seriously, coffee's on us. I'm like, you need to take the dollar.
Please take this dollar.
And I sit there and I could only imagine the look on my face like, no, really, man, you got to take my dollar, man. I'm going to start drinking if you don't take my
Right.
dollar.
I'm going to go beat your grandmother up. Take this dollar.
Right. Do you care about your grandma? Take this dollar.
Mm-hmm.
It was little things like that. And it happened the other night. I told you the story about the server, and I messed up on the tip, and I went back the next day and
Mm.
made good on the tip for the guy. And so I still have that mindset. But today, do I think that I would have jeopardized my sobriety by not going back and actually making up what I should have paid him in a tip? No,
Right.
but then again, I also don't want to be a dick today. And
Right.
these people are out here working, and I
Mm-hmm.
respect that. So the difference is, I'm not necessarily doing it because I'm afraid of drinking anymore. I'm doing it because I want to continue to be a good human being. But again, all that
Exactly.
rolls into one, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah, but the other thing too, and to kind of step back about why Mike is here this week. So, God, was it 3 months ago, 4 months ago? I forget when
About
we
that.
actually,
Yeah, somewhere
yeah.
around there.
So there's a band, and for those of you, if you don't know them, look them up. They're a good band. It's Greta Van Fleet, and the lead singer sounds like a young Robert Plant. So if you're familiar with Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin, anything like that, I mean that's the sound they have. They play alternative music. They're great. They're from Detroit, right outside of Ann Arbor. Am I right or not?
Yeah, a little town called Frankenmuth, the
Okay.
Christmas capital of America.
I was going to say, I know that.
As a native Michiganer, Michigander. Yes, I know that.
So you're a Michigan looker, a Michigander.
A Michigander.
Yes. So thank you for just brush over my joke. It's fine. It's cool.
Somebody out there will get it. Sure.
But so we bought tickets for it. Mike had texted me. He said, "Hey, they're coming to either Madison or Green Bay. Pick one. I'm coming up." I'm like, "Cool." So we booked the tickets. We picked a Green Bay, and I know I posted about that on Instagram. I mean, we were obviously really excited about just getting together because it's fun. But going up to the concert, and then my grandchild was born. We're going to stop by and see him and my daughter and my son-in-law. And then Monday night, I get this email, and it's like, urgent alert from the venue. So the the concert got canceled. And again, I posted this on Instagram, but the whole point, we sat there, we were talking on the phone on Monday night, and we're both kind of like, hey, well, I mean, I got the time off. You got the time off. Come on out.
Right.
We'll still hang out and do whatever. And my daughter wasn't feeling well, so we didn't end up going up to Appleton. But how she feels and all that stuff is certainly more important than anything that he and I wanted to do. But we just hung out. We've been sitting around. We've been messing with our website. We've been talking shit. We went to the record store. We ate food.
Right.
And we just hung out doing basically nothing for the last couple of days, and it's been everything I thought it might be. So
absolutely, yeah.
But what it made me think about though was the whole idea of, I mean, both of us were disappointed, but it's a difference. It's a different disappointment than what we would have felt, let's say back when we first got sober. So I don't know, it just made me think about, do you remember even the first time or any time in like really early recovery that you were disappointed by something, and maybe how you felt or how you acted? I mean, I was just curious. It popped into my head.
Early recovery disappointment. I can't really think of much of anything.
Really, nothing comes to mind. Your life was just swimming. I mean,
it was beautiful. I was working in this garbage metal shop, and my car broke down, and you know what? I was doing the next right thing. It didn't matter. From very early on, this thing was working for me. If that sounds awful and cliched, but it's true. Right. I again, very early on, and this atheist had faith. I had faith that things were going to work out because they kept telling me it would. And we had all these great examples around us of these men who were like telling us, look, man, it's all going to be okay. Just be a good boy, do the next right thing, work this program, and it's going to be all right. It's probably not going to turn out the way you want it to. It's going to turn out better. And you know what? Nobody lied to us. Yeah, all these drunks and junkies did not lie to us.
Well, and that's a cool thing. I say that all the time, especially when I talk to people anywhere in recovery, but especially people who are new. All these different things that, well, first of all, anything that comes out of my mouth recovery based is all stolen. I don't have any original thoughts when it comes to this. It's things that I was taught, learned, heard, and I say stolen because I did. You're told that you should. You got to steal these ideas. You need to steal them and implement them in your life.
Right.
But when you just said about something turning out better, I just thought about it. I don't know if this was the first time I was disappointed, but I just thought of one. So we were 90 days sober, and I had just gone out and started looking for work. And I went out to Ohio. I think I obviously explained that. I was in Wisconsin. My son, who was only 9 years old at the time, was still in Wisconsin. He was coming out for the first time, and I hadn't seen him in 3 months. I talked to him on the phone and this and that. And he's a little kid. I mean, he doesn't. Well, here's the thing. He thought that I went out there because I was sick, which I was,
Hmm.
but he thought it was a physical thing, not that I was a raging alcoholic.
Right.
So this was going to be my opportunity to sit down and talk to him about what I'm going through, what I'm doing, and this huge moment. And it was. So
Hmm.
we were there for 90 days, and the Keating Center where we were, if people messed up, there were times in the past that we had heard
Hmm.
about, they would lock down the facility. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go on visits on Sundays. You couldn't do anything.
Right.
Everyone got locked down. So
Hmm.
there was this yearly event, this yearly sober event, which a lot of the guys went and volunteered to work for just so they could get out. And a buddy of ours ended up meeting up with his, we'll call baby mama, right? Would probably be the
Right.
best.
Yeah, best
Okay.
description. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Baby mama. And they basically went off. He didn't work and he was banging his baby mama, and they ended up getting caught.
Hmm.
And she was not supposed to be there. He was not supposed to be, obviously, banging his baby mama.
Hmm.
And our director, Marty, found out about it and had this big meeting and shut everyone down. And
Right.
once again, my son's coming into town, and I wanted to be able to talk to him and sit down with him and have this moment. And I was fucking pissed. I'm
Hmm.
like, seriously? So I was angry, but I was ridiculously upset because I'm like, this is important. And you want to talk about disappointment? I mean, that I think that qualifies.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, you were trying to manage things. Imagine that.
right, right. So I'm all pissed off, and I'm like, this whole thing's fucked up. Nothing's going to work out. I'm not going to be able to have the conversation. So fast forward a little bit. They get there. They come to us on that Sunday because we could have people in, but we couldn't go out. And my
Hmm.
sister brought her, so she's there with my niece and my son, and big hugs and all this different stuff. And so I took him, and there was a like a sitting area kind of back behind the Keating Center.
Hmm.
So I'm like, here, I said, come with me. And we went back there, and we sat down, and I had the conversation with him there. You know, told him what was going on, what the problem was, why I was there. That from a physical standpoint, I wasn't sick, but I had this whole drinking thing and alcoholic stuff. I don't know if I used the word at that point, but he understood, I think. Um, but all said and done, things working out better than they could have is that he was able to be at the place I was at,
Hmm.
see me in the environment that I was in, and I think, and I'm pretty goddamn sure, that he walked away from there more comfortable because he could put a place now with the story and everything. He knew I was okay.
Right.
So, yeah, man, I was so pissed. But I think back now, that's what had to happen. That I mean,
Right.
not that our buddy had to bang his baby mama.
Well, yeah, he probably did, but
Okay, for him that had to happen. For that didn't have to happen for me.
no.
But that situation, the way it happened, needed to be that way because I think that set a stage for the relationship that my son and I have when it comes to my disease and my
Hmm.
alcoholism and all that sort of thing. And to this day, he's 21 years old now, and this was this
Mm.
9-year-old little boy I was talking to.
Right.
He's comfortable talking to me. We talk openly about stuff. I, for the most part, I think he's comfortable asking me questions because he has,
Hmm.
and I don't hide. I don't need to hide who I am or what I am or anything like that. And I celebrate that relationship. And I now I have a firm belief that that experience, he remembers that. I know he does because we talked
Hmm.
about that. He remembers showing up.
Right.
He didn't see my car. So he's telling my sister, he's like, where's my dad? I don't see my dad's car. I don't see his car. Where is it?
Right. Right.
Because he was worried that I wasn't going to be there. So and again, this anxiousness and we hadn't seen each other in 3 months.
Hmm.
So the point to that, and I'm glad that you bringing that up made me think about that. Because the reason I threw it on you first, because I couldn't think of one right off the bat either. So that was
That's
giving
okay.
me
I still can't think of one, so I'm glad you thought something.
right. So
Yeah.
yay me, right?
Hmm.
but but yeah, I mean what a great example of, and I can tell you, and I'm sure I've got 1,000, if not 100 stories or 500 stories of times that I wanted things to work a certain way and they worked. They took a little bit more time, or
Hmm.
worked a little bit way. and turned
Hmm.
out better than I could have. And again, surprisingly, right, that I
Right.
could have manufactured or managed myself. So
Hmm.
I don't. I don't know what causes all these things. Mike, you talked about that in your story. You don't know why all this stuff works. I don't either.
Nope.
But
Nope.
what I do know, I know it works.
Yeah.
And that's all. At this point, that's all I need. So in the disappointment that we both had with this concert,
Hmm.
and really have done almost nothing productive since we've been here, or since you've
Nope.
been here.
Nope.
Nothing productive. But we've got to spend time with each other. We haven't seen each other since Thanksgiving.
Right.
We spent some time on the website, but that could have been done whatever.
Hmm.
Kicked around and did whatever. But I mean, we bought some nice records, from the record store.
We
But
did.
nothing necessarily that we didn't have this planned out thing. But so we took this, whatever. Here's the disappointment.
Hmm.
Fuck it, we're still going to do this.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it's been absolutely great. So.
It has.
But yeah, and the last time, when was the last time you were up here? God, it's been like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, about that, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, weather's not great, so it's not like we can hang outside or anything like that. But it just it's been a long time since I've had a couple of days when I've just been able to sit and do nothing. Which
Right.
like I said,
Yeah,
it's
me too.
like, yeah, like Office Space. It's everything I imagined it to be.
Yep.
But yeah, the other thing I thought about, along with the disappointment thing when we were just talking about this, was it reminded me of the little things, and maybe not the disappointments, but the irritations, that cause people to go out and relapse, especially when we were in early recovery. I remember one in particular, but I'm sure we've got 100 or 1,000 stories on that too. Do you remember that? I mean, anyone in particular that you remember hearing the story? And we know the reason. I mean, people stop doing what they need to do when they drink again. We know that.
Right.
But do you remember any of the stories of people, like specifics of this happened to this person? They just like got a case of the fuckets and went out and drank. Do you remember any of those?
I mean, well, again, like you said, hundreds, thousands. Yeah, and I can tell you from myself. Yeah, I wasn't doing the work. I wasn't all that interested in really being sober, and I would just I had no coping skills. I was a raw nerve, and I needed to medicate myself any way I could. It would get to be too much, and say, well, I have to go drink because that's what I do. Um, and that's what happens to all of us. The book talks about, and it's actually my favorite line from the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. There is no cure for alcoholism. All we get is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And the most important word, and I've heard people misquote that over and over a million times. They leave the word maintenance out. I get a daily reprieve contingent upon my spiritual condition. And I just look at them and I go, no, the most important word in there is maintenance. There are things I have to do every day. Otherwise, and if I don't do them, I'm going to drink and I'm going to use, period.
Right.
Because that's what I am. But if I do this maintenance, and I don't even understand them half the time. Some of these things, almost a dozen years sober, they still don't make sense to me. Praying, I pray twice a day, because it's an action they tell me to take. I do the maintenance, and if by doing the maintenance, I have no desire to drink. I have no desire to drug. I don't have to medicate myself today. I just don't. Because I do these little things that they told me to do, these little actions through the day, playing that tape through, I play that tape through. I don't want to go beat up your grandmother. I just don't today.
Well, and the thing of it is, and Mike and I have sat in countless number of meetings and groups or whatever people do, and it's a huge pet peeve for both of us. That line that you just read and that word maintenance, people say it all the time, all the freaking time. And when people start to recite that line, I sit there, okay, are they going to say it? Are they going to say it? Okay, because you're right. So here's the thing, and I liken it in my mind that just because you have a spiritual condition, it doesn't mean it's a good one. There's spiritual people out there that are fucking evil. That's just a fact.
Right.
So just because you have a spiritual condition, air quotes, does not mean
Hmm.
that you're maintaining it or maintaining it properly. So I think about it like the word attitude. Okay, everyone's got an attitude. But
Hmm.
if you walk up to somebody and you say, "Hey, dude, you've got an attitude," it's never good, right? But you could say
Right.
a good attitude or a positive attitude. It's what you're doing with that word. So what are you doing with that spiritual condition? You just have it,
Hmm.
or you're working it, you're maintaining it. But yeah, it's so true. And let me ask you a question, Mike. So you're obviously traveling.
Hmm.
Did your routine change just because you were here?
Oh, no, no, no. Absolutely
I
not.
knew the answer.
Right.
I knew the answer.
I'm sitting in his spare bedroom where I've been sleeping the past couple of nights, and I'm looking at my meditation books right now. They're sitting there. They're next to the bed, just like they are at home. I read them this morning. I read them yesterday morning. I will read them tomorrow morning. Almost 99% guaranteed. I am going to read those books tomorrow morning. Unless I don't wake up in the morning.
Right.
It's yeah, my routine. It's what I do. It's part of my life now.
Yeah, and I mean, I did the same thing too. I mean, I've got the only difference in what Mike and I do from our readings is I've got everything's on my phone, but I also use my Chromebook. I just get in the habit of reading one thing on there, but it's also on my phone. And I
Hmm.
did it specifically that way when I started traveling because I wanted just the one-stop shop for all my stuff.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter where. And there's been so many people, and I remember one, probably two in particular, but one in
Mm.
particular. There was a couple of people that I sponsored, and just so everyone knows, I've never had a successful sponsee to this
Mm.
day.
Hmm.
But if anyone has read, which a lot of people have, had heard about Bill Wilson and all these different things, he wasn't keeping anyone sober, but his
Right.
wife said to him, "But you're sober today, but
Right.
you're sober."